I thought it was a good idea to stay in touch with these people with whom I'd formed friendships and so on. I just organised with a particular restaurant to book a table of unspecified size and sent a group email around. Those people who wanted to come would come. It was that informal. And public sphere is something quite similar. It's a sort of a use of the internet to lower all these transactions costs and to do amazing things that you wouldn't have imagined you could have done before. So when I was explaining some of the things that we did to the new head of the Australian Public Service Commission, he said, and I was talking about how departments should use blogging, he sort of immediately said, oh yeah, you're talking about something like maybe a 2-week inquiry, which is exactly what you can do. And over 2 or 3 weeks, you can conduct an inquiry. A vastly more powerful inquiry than you could have conducted before if you've got your engagement strategies worked out. When I went to public sphere, I was confronted by the Twitter stream. It's a craze for short-term attention and all that sort of stuff, and it is all those things, and in those ways it's confronting and irritating. And it's also turbocharged human consciousness and human attention. They're tweeting, they're reading other tweets, they're showing other people websites that the speaker just spoke about, and so an entire room of people is just being far more productive.
We feel that we are on the cusp of something, because I think what we're all feeling, and it is manifesting in Gov 2.0 as a subset of a much, much greater phenomenon. I mean, I remember having dinner with Malcolm Turnbull along before he was even in politics, and he said, I've just taken an interest in this company called Aussie Mail, and we are doing month-on-month projections on growth, and every month we are just completely overshooting. He said, I have no idea what's going on here, but something really big is happening. And I guess I'm sitting here today thinking, whatever that big thing that is happening, it's getting bigger. You can feel the energy of this. And it is truly transformative. I think at a level of consciousness, the way in which humanity is interacting here, and I mean wars and tension and conflict, is about a sense of people being disconnected. The traditional role of government as the controlling attribute of our lives is being diminished. As Kate said, you've got to go to where the people are, where they're at, because if you don't, you're at risk of becoming irrelevant. You have to bring the elements together. Gov 2.0 for us is a critical constituent part of this revolution that we are talking about. The NBN is unquestionably one of the key ingredients. You've always got to come back to that central point that the internet is all about people, the innate desire to communicate and to belong. What is it that humanity seeks here? And if we can move to where that consciousness is going, I think that's how we stay relevant.
Part of the research that we've been doing here in the centre and more broadly is around the access to public sector information. I suppose one of the key goals here is that the more we can access and reutilise public sector information, the more we can do different things. The problem is we have cultural, legal, pricing, technological, all of those kinds of barriers in place that we have to break through. I suppose we now stand in a period, the government's come back and said, look, we endorse basically the Gov 2 report. We even endorse the idea of default licensing under Creative Commons. The one thing that I think concerns me about all of this is that we don't lose the great momentum that's been built up here. How do we go forward in implementing some of the great recommendations that have been put on the table? How do we keep the sort of best practice trajectory that we've got going? Because my great fear now is that we've done all the right things to this point, but we seem to be losing a little traction for a whole variety of reasons in the implementation stage.
Kate, when you were talking about the public sphere and citizen-centric democracy, it reminded me that one of the great opportunities, I think, with the NBN as a platform is suddenly we can transform the delivery of public services. But for this to be really powerful, it's about open citizen access to and use of public services. So we're putting the control back in the hands of the citizen. Yeah. Now, that's going to take a lot of guts by government and the executive to let it happen, isn't it?
Look, it is, and you know, the comments made by the panel, I think, build back to this really critical point, is that it's going to have to be compelling. Now, we've had experience in Australia where governments try to foist new things on our citizens, and basically they don't like it. So for the government, such great care needs to be taken about how we introduce these new ideas. Let citizens who are perhaps more familiar and comfortable with the technology take the first steps and let it prove itself. You can't expect citizens to take a big new step if they don't have the opportunity to explore it in full and the implications. And the beautiful thing about Gov 2.0, it's no longer about government knowing best. It's about government sharing and reaching a conclusion together.